So, hello and welcome to the Shattered Order podcast, episode 186. I am, of course, Wink. I'm not the usual guy running this thing, so I'll be honest. I have no idea what I'm doing on this whole live stream thing. So we will, we'll see how this episode goes. This should be fun. Grande,
hi.
What's going on?
Not much, man. Doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Loving the pre-show snafus and ready to talk about, hell of a lot of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Elon. I'm on the wrong side. GMP is out, so of course I asked Grande to come on and go through all these updates and this Q&A and all this sort of stuff with me. We got a hell of a lot to talk about. But yeah, no GMP this week. He'll be back next week. I think we go back to doing our show on Friday next week. Probably gonna have a guest. So yeah, gonna be very exciting stuff. So, Grande, tell everybody who you are if, for whatever reason, they're not familiar.
Okay, so I'm Grandepatron from Reality Skewed Gamers. Myself and about 5 other people work on that channel. You can find us at Reality Skewed Gamers on YouTube. We stream about this game almost every day. Have a stream on this game and other games almost every day. We do a Wednesday evening stream where we talk about all the news that's fit to print, and then we also do an everyday noon stream where we do free roster reviews, and then we have a Saturday morning stream, the roundtable called Jedi Academy, and that's where we have a lot of different people that are YouTubers or that are streamers. On this game to talk about and to do kind of a roundtable and answer everyone's questions as far as what they might have to or what kind of progress they might be looking for in the game.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. I love that Saturday show.
Yeah, it's really good.
Definitely good stuff. And yeah, you guys stream a ton. How many of you are over there at RSG?
So there's Ranger J, 1999, Affinity, myself, Sir Loki, Tits McVenom. Yes, that really is her name. And none of us created that for her. She created that for herself. And then we have Sanely Red. And then Grim. They're on quite a bit as well. And then of course just kind of like a normal round table of different people. I'm sure I missed somebody that I is not coming to my mind right now. I probably am, but anyway, that's kind of the core group of us.
Very cool. Good stuff. Well, make sure you guys go check that out on YouTube. Of course, I will put a link to y'all's YouTube channel in the show notes if people want to check that out and aren't familiar. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into this first topic.
Hey guys, what did you do in SWGOH this week?
I will be honest, I didn't get a whole lot done in SWGOH this week other than just doing some farms. I've been going heavy on the farms, especially Hux and Sith Trooper. I'm doing the 25 and 50 crystal refreshes, so I'm doing 15 battles a day, which should net me 5 shards a day, which I think puts me at about 40 days to get him to 7-star with where I'm at right now, which is pretty rough.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, right? And we have more farms coming out soon, don't we?
yeah, no kidding. So, who are you farming? Are you farming for the Galactic Legends, or what do you?
Oh yeah, it's all hands on deck for Galactic Legends, right? So I'm still doing the 2 ships. I still have 2 ships characters or 2 ships that I haven't finished yet. I'm like slowly working on the hyena and slowly working on the BTL, but they're the normal amount of nodes that you can get in a day, just the regular 5, right? And then I am farming both the Sith Trooper and the and General Hux, and then the rest of it is gear. And I'm definitely going for the First Order faction first over the Resistance faction. Mostly just because whenever I went and looked, I had the entire First Order faction at Gear 12 when I first looked. And I'm like, okay. And I still had like 2 or 3 of the Resistance at like Gear 10 or Gear 11. And so whenever I had them, whenever I looked at it, I'm like, it's less pieces for me to go ahead and do that. I did get regular Kylo Ren up to Relic 5 this week. And then
nice.
And then the entire rest of my First Order until today's news, right, was all G12 plus the 5 pieces. So after today, not quite so much. but until today, that's where I was at.
Very nice. Grinding.
I had a very painful G12 this afternoon, though. I will tell you that. Yeah, I sure did. I took veteran smuggler Han, smuggler Han to G12, and I was like,
I'm so far away.
Do you remember?
I had him I have been a 70,
I have been typing in this channel for weeks, and for weeks I told you we were going to need Vet Han, Chewie, and Vet Han, and Vet Han and Vet Chewie. Do you remember this? Weeks I've been saying this.
I do remember you saying that, and
you guys called BS on me. You remember that? You're like, oh no, I can't believe it, right? You remember that? And I was like, look at what they do in the feet.
I'm not. That's true.
Look at the feats, man.
I'm not super surprised, but I'm a little surprised.
Oh, and SD Joe is in there giving me some heartburn about the fact that we lost our TW Shadow. We did. Shadowlands busted us on that one.
How close?
Real close. I think it was like it was under 150 banners. Yeah.
Yep,
it was close.
That's a tough one. We squeaked one out. It would have been like probably by 50 banners we would have won had they finished our last fleet, but they knew they couldn't have won, so I guess they just kind of quit. But we ended up winning our territory where I can't remember who it was against, but these Galactic Legends are a pretty tough farm. I've been farming the Emperor Shuttle because I was kind of expecting that his shuttle would be a requirement for the Finalizer, which I'm obviously expecting to be a requirement for the Galactic Legend Kylo.
Sure.
And pleasantly surprised, so I think I'm about to kick that back to the curb, maybe. I'm going to keep farming the Y-Wing and... what's the other one? The Falcon that's needed for a Holdo ship. I'm still going to keep farming those, but I need to get to work on some gear because I have Special Forces TIE Fighter Pilot and Veteran Han at Gear 10.
Oof.
Gear 9. So I have a long ways to go. I need a lot of Carbonis. I need stun guns. I need so much stuff. So that's going to be my chore. But fortunately, I'm done with those first 2 quests. Like, my 2 Kylos are Relic 7. The other 4 First Order requirements, they're Relic 5, so they're finished. So, I'm just working on this tier currently.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Just when you think you're close, you really are far. And what I mean by that is, I've got... so I have all of the First Order to where I'm at G12-5, right? Except for these last 2 that are here. And you think you're pretty gosh darn close. Let me tell you, just to get that last piece on, right, to get them actually into relics is still pretty painful.
Yep.
And then the other thing, too,
brutal.
and here's the other thing, too, is, I have 2 Kylos, one sitting at Relic 5 and one sitting at Relic 6. Just to get them both to Relic 7 is going to be a whole nother thing on its own. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's
It's
not like
it's
I
rough.
mean, you think so. I mean, I'm like, hey, they're all G12, right? Except for the Sith Trooper, and I've got all of his left side pieces, or all of his right side pieces to take him to G12 are ready to go. So I just no. Once I get him to G12, I got a whole other thing to go and a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, this is it's
Yep.
not super simple. It's not, And what the heck am I going to do
Nope.
with a relic, whatever 3 or 5, whatever it is, on a Han after I'm done with it? I mean, where's he going to go? I have no idea where he's going to.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with
take
him?
up space and inflate your GP.
Well, what am I going to do with
I mean,
him? I mean,
You just
what do I do with that guy now? I have no idea what I do with that guy.
He is getting the resistance tag, so there might be some potential there as far as like crits with RJT or something along those lines.
Relic 3. I have him Relic 3, it looks like. So, anyway, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's what I did.
So, very nice. So you're making progress. You're getting there. Those relics damn sure are tough.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Absolutely.
I really didn't do anything else other than just kind of farming those characters. This next territory battle, the Dark Side territory battle, I will finally get Watt to 7 stars, so I'd like to get him to Gear 12 also, but man, I don't know, because some of the stuff that he needs, these other 2 characters, the Smuggler Han and the special TIE Fighter pilot, whatever the hell
Special
his name
Forces
is.
TIE Fighter pilot. Yes.
Yeah, that cat.
So let me tell you, I think there's a way you can.
I don't have
I think there's a way you can.
There,
you can actually. You have the Zeta on Watt already, do you? I'm sure you do, right, Wink?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I think it's possible that you can. I mean, Watt Tambor basically does everything that he needs to do at Gear 11 that he does at Gear 12, right?
That's true.
The main thing you're looking for is survivability, right? And one thing that's nice about this game is that you could actually mod for speed and survivability and make up for the gear you don't have in this particular character. So it's possible that you can have not completely, right? But if you, for example, did speed sets with a focus on protection, let's say, right? You could potentially make your Watt Tambor function almost as good as a G12 Watt Tambor.
Yeah.
Just as something to think about, right? So, if you're a little starved for gear, like the rest of us are right now, and if you're starved for gear, how do you? And this is one particular character because he doesn't actually like fight or do anything. We literally all we care about is speed and total HP on him. And other than that, we're good. So I think you can mod around the gear deficiency in this particular aspect.
And I've got him modded around some, but I like using him against Night Sister, so I'd like him to have a little bit more health.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that I can work him into Gear 12 while I'm doing this other stuff, but man, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. I agree. All
right. Let's move on to this next thing.
Strong with us, this update is Young Padawans.
Alright, the update that we got today. So this week they actually had an update in the App Store that you had to go download, and then we got the update today, which actually added some stuff. Some stuff in here I'm actually pretty excited about.
Right.
One thing they did do is they changed the GA start to March 2nd. So that's getting moved around just a little bit. I think it's starting a day earlier now. But the big thing, and this is something that they got into a little bit more in the Q&A, and that is about the assault battles. They have added new tiers to Places of Power, Secrets and Shadows, and Ground War. Places of Power, I think that's one we already knew about. But Secrets, Shadows, and Ground War, we did not know anything about new battle tiers on those. So that's pretty exciting that they're going to be getting new ones.
I totally agree, right? I mean, we, having new having new battles, new levels to these events, I think is super cool, and I'm definitely glad they did it. I will tell you that they are hard as heck, man. I don't know if you've found it out to be that way. Typically, not the first one after what we were doing, right? The first tier, but the second tier is substantially more difficult.
Oh yeah, it's another level.
And basically, what I've seen from most people is you have to bring G12 to that event as a bare minimum with some key pieces at G13, and then I will also say that it does take some time as well. Most people that are doing the second level of these events are really spending 20, 30 minutes on it. Sometimes it seems like in able to get that event
done. I think the bounty hunter one, I think it took me about 20 minutes to beat it. Of course, I have a relic 4 boss, relic 4 Boba, relic 5 Django, and then a really good Gear 12 Dengar. And I threw Greedo in with them, who died almost immediately, but I was able to beat it with them. It took like 4 tries. That third wave is kind of difficult against the Phoenix, but once you get past that, you can kind of stack up the buff and kind of make your way through it. I've been able to beat second tier of all of them so far, fortunately. The one with the droids, that one was the most difficult. I did it with only one Gear 13 character, and honestly, I didn't even need him Gear 13. It was B2. That one's one that if you mod it right, you can definitely beat it. Without any Gear 13. The other ones, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how this kind of goes moving forward on whether or not we'll be able to do it. But we'll see.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun, though, and the rewards are fantastic. I love seeing these. I'm hoping that we'll, start getting these on a lot more regular basis, at least like one a week or something.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
So the other thing, like we were talking about, the next requirements for the Galactic Legend characters.
That's kind of what we were talking about already. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's rough.
The Kylo ones seem all right, though, right? I mean, the Kylo ones.
And part of it's what we expected. The Special Forces TIE Fighter pilot at Relic 3, Sith Trooper Relic 5. That's not terribly surprising.
No.
But the veteran smuggler Han at Relic 3, at least it's only Relic 3.
Called it, baby! I called it!
You're the only person I know of that called this one. And I will say this, though. It makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, that character, Han, is absolutely crucial to who Kylo becomes. And,
I agree.
We saw it in the movie with his reappearance and stuff. It makes complete and total sense. No one should be upset or irritated about that because it's in lockstep with what these events should be, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then you mentioned as well too. He's getting a tag change, right?
Yes, he is going to be a Resistance character, and he's getting some changes as well.
Right. And then did they mention any changes on Chewie? I can't remember if we saw any changes on Chewie yet or no.
They did, yes.
In the Q&A. Yes. Okay. So we could probably expect the other...
Well, it wasn't in the Q&A, but it was a separate post.
We saw the right foot, the right shoe drop, and we're probably going to see the left shoe drop on this thing later. But, those two guys are like, 2 peas in a pod, so you can obviously see something else coming down the line. Anyway, so, and then we got the Rey Galactic Legends. I guess it's the requirements for the third set of requirements, and what were those?
And those were a Relic 5 Holdo, Relic 5 Resistance Hero Finn, and who is... he's actually now farmable as of this update on light side 8C hard.
Right.
And then, I feel so bad for all the Rey people, but Rose Relic 5. At least you don't have to Zeta her like I did, but you do have to get her to Gear 13, Relic 5.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal.
So I was sitting there waiting on this one to go. You know, I mean, I had all the gear ready to take her to Gear 12, and I put it on Veteran Smuggler Han and on Holdo, and I was like, yeah, Rose, you don't get it yet. I'm sorry. You know, you can just stay at 11 for right now. Oh man, but yeah, it was kind of painful, for sure.
It'll be so long. If I ever go for Ray, it will be a very long time down the road, and I won't be happy about that. I will not be happy at all about relicking Rose. So
really,
I'd rather do Han. So to all of those, yeah,
okay.
And I've got a Zeta on her. I just,
I mean, here's the thing: we haven't seen the kits yet, right? And we've talked about this before, right? About what are you doing, right? Because we haven't seen the kits yet. I'm like I said, I'm hedging my bets. I'm taking all of the characters that are needed for this to G12 and working on their pieces in G12 that I need for both. But I am, as of right now, taking the first order first to G13 just to kind of see. But I'm going to tell you, when we don't see the kits, it makes it really difficult, right, to decide which one to go for. Right now, as of right now, though, it does seem like that first order might be the way to go. But when we see these kits, the new Ray may blow it all out of the water. So you never know. It might be like,
that's totally true.
It might be like the journey is more palatable on the first order side, but then the reward is more palatable on the resistance side, if that makes sense. So we'll have to see.
Well, and, the advantage of going for Ray is she's going to help tremendously in what is definitely the hardest game mode currently in the game, the Lightside Junos territory battle. I suspect she's going to be a monster in that. Whereas if you're going for Kylo, you lose that big, massive benefit of all this investment. Because most people are probably getting through the dark side Geo territory battle okay.
Correct.
You at least have some teams who can function. A lot of people just don't have any teams that can function in the light side Geo TB. So,
I mean,
rough. We will see.
The thing is, though, I mean, if you're really going for light side GOTB, you need to be going for Galactic Republic, right? You need to be working some Jedi teams. You need to be working for gas, and you need to be working on your Padme teams and clones. I mean, that to me really seems like that's where it's at for that. I mean, if you're working up a team, a resistance team, I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying you're going to have to work a lot harder to make it work currently without seeing the new Galactic Legends Ray.
Yep. And fortunately, like, for me, I'm already so deeply invested in all those light side teams. Not getting Ray it's not going to affect me too much in this territory battle, because I'm still able to clear quite a few waves, and I'm fine. But, like, if you're struggling and you don't have any teams, I mean, going for Ray long term is probably going to be a smart strategy.
So here's how we've been recommending people to do, right? We've been recommending that people kind of hedge their bets, right? Don't place any gear until we've seen the whole thing. We wouldn't, you and I would not start a road trip from New York to Los Angeles without looking at a map and knowing exactly how we're going to get from New York to Los Angeles, right?
That is very true.
And so why would we start down a journey without knowing exactly what the whole roadmap is? You can't, you're not going to get in any trouble by waiting, right? If you farmed all the gear and you just didn't press the green plus buttons, I mean, how are you going to, you're not going to be hurt by waiting. And so you could totally wait until we get rid of all of that. And then once we've seen the entire roadmap, then you can make a choice. And I think that then you would make a more informed and educated choice. Now, if someone is, not totally free to play and they're going to invest some cash in the game, I think they can afford to maybe place some of that gear or decide one way or the other more than someone else because they know they're going to go for both of them. And so I think a lot of it depends on how you're doing in arena, how you're doing in other areas. The other thing that us at RSG have said is we don't do something just for TBs, because you only get the kind of TB that you want like once every 4 weeks,
Yeah,
right? Because
that's hard. True.
And so what do you need to work on first? You need to work on you need to stay high level in arena, stay high level in ships arena, so you can get your zetas and so you can get your crystal income, and then after that work on your teams for GAC. And by if you work on your arena teams, that means you'll have a decent GAC, right? If you work on your GAC teams, then that means you'll be good for your guild for TW. And if you work on good teams for TW, then you will, as a byproduct, end up with good teams for TB.
That is true.
The
one thing about TB is like every team has like one or two core characters that if you take to Gear 13 and relic them up, they completely change the team.
Good point.
And so kind of focusing on those core characters is, just absolutely huge. Especially light side territory battles specifically.
Right.
So the other thing that dropped with this update is finally the other Fleet Mastery event. We're finally getting the Finalizer tomorrow. Yeah, I'm excited.
Have you read the kit? I think the kit's pretty sick. I'm going to tell you.
Yes. We are going to talk about it here in a bit, and it is absolutely awesome. I love it.
I think that this is going to be really impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be very offensively based, it seems like.
Right.
And we'll kind of get into a little bit more about it. But as for the requirements, the requirements are nowhere near what I was expecting. They're a lot more relaxed than I think anybody probably expected. So, since the event's not actually here, we don't know 100% for sure, but this is all data mined, so we're pretty certain this is what it is. But the requirements are any capital ship, First Order TIE Fighter, Houndstooth, Kylo's Command Shuttle, Slave One, the TIE Silencer, TIE Advanced, and Xanadu Blood. I was really, really expecting that the Emperor Shuttle or some of these Sith ships would be requirements for this. I never would have thought that the TIE Advanced, that's been one of the best ships in the game ever since they came out with ships. I mean, ever since that ship dropped, it's been very good. And then the Xanadu Blood and Slave One, they're required to get Han's Millennium Falcon. It's almost kind of a gimme. I think the requirements for this are much easier than they are for Holdo ship.
Well, I mean, to me, it's similar, right? I mean, it's a real hodgepodge of ships, right? It's almost like like let's just throw the kitchen sink at that thing. So it just kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. I think they're trying to get more people engaged in ships, and by doing that, we're ending up with some kind of some softballs in order to get people engaged in ships content.
That could be true.
That's I mean, it's been a long time since we had any kind of like hardcore ships content, and so I think they want to get more people engaged in moving up in their ships arena and get those ships arenas a little bit more competitive. That's what I think.
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't even thought about it from that aspect, but that it would make sense based on the way that these two ships are built. One being almost entirely defensive about recovery and all that sort of stuff, but plays really well as an offensive team. It's just, all the abilities are defensively based versus the First Order team that is almost entirely offensively based. Both of these fleets have great potential to kind of shake up the meta for people who don't necessarily maybe have these Galactic Republic or droid ships maxed.
So my buddy and I have a couple of buddies, and we do fleet arena battles just for practice in fleet, right? We're kind of weird in that we kind of theory craft. And so we threw 5-star and 6-star Radis on defense, and we're like, hey, what do you think? And at least with the Radis, they were like, man, that protection regen is brutal, even with kind of garbagey ships, right? I mean, we're only 5-star, we're only 6-star for most of the people that are out there, right? And most people probably are only 4-star or whatever it unlocks at. So, we're like throw it in there, and then throw it in there with some kind of like unusual pieces. I will tell you that at least for the Radis right now, it feels like it's missing a piece, because really and truly you have to bring Han's Millennium Falcon in from reinforcements in order to make it work, and that's because it gives foresight to all allies when you bring it in from reinforcements. So that works for Fleet Arena, but it doesn't work for GAC and doesn't work for TAW. For TW, you're trying to you're basically trying to reduce the cooldowns of her holdo maneuver thingy, and so
Yep.
And no one's going to, really kind of neuter their rebel fleet by doing that, which means that the Radis is missing something. And I feel like that the potential is there that with Hux's Finalizer, we can end up with a better fleet that doesn't neuter another fleet quite as badly, I guess.
And kind of jumping on your kind of theory about them wanting to make ships more engaging, by throwing out more capital ships and actually having options, this kind of allows them to build more other ships for us to use. And if they start going more the strategy of non-piloted ships, that creates a ton of potential. So, I mean, that's something that we could certainly be seeing a lot more this year.
It's interesting you say that. I'm kind of not a fan of the pilotless ships. And the reason why I'm not a fan of the pilotless ships is because as we continue to have some type of overall roster power creep, right? Pilotless ships get stuck at whatever their max is whenever they were introduced. And so piloted ships will always trump non-piloted ships in that scenario. That's
assuming new gear levels or new modifications to characters.
Some type of new modification comes out, right? On some level, there's some type of overall modification that comes out. And granted, that's a big assumption, but about once every 6 months to a year, we've had some, since the game started, we've had some way to increase any character you wanted to on your roster at some point. So I can't imagine that we would say that, from now until the end of time, that, a Relic 7 character, with 60 mods is like the penultimate max of a character we're ever going to have, moving forward. The example of what I mean by a pilotless ship is there are certain characters that have been left in the dust that were super awesome when they first came out and are not awesome anymore. And one of the characters that comes to my mind with this is IPD. IPD is a character that was really, really strong when IPD came out, and now IPD's big, quote unquote, holdo maneuver, nihilist type maneuver, doesn't even, because of where it's set, it doesn't even kill anything anymore. So I'm concerned that we would end up with pilotless ships that we kind of look at as similar to IPD moving forward, which would be unfortunate.
And, honestly, I think, like, the TIE Advanced is kind of one of those ships, because you used to run it in everything.
Oh, yeah.
But now it just doesn't have a spot as much. That could change, but, as for these ships, they could always rebalance them. Ships without pilots, they could rebalance them whenever they add something to characters to keep them up with them, because they said.
And I hope that they do. I hope that they do rebalance them. I really do. Just like I hope at some point they rebalance IPD to bring IPD back to relevance.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. There will be an Empire thing they'll do at some point, and IPD will be back to being a destroyer of worlds. Let's hope.
Let's hope.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic.
Hey boys, do you have any tips for us? less experienced players.
So I got a very big tip here.
I'm sure you do.
Very big tip.
That cracks me up
Alright.
every time I hear that, dude. That so cracks me up every time.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. I need to rebuild the soundboard because there are a few that are not on here that I want on here. I want to start.
Oh, I bet if you went back and you re-listened, there are a lot of times whenever Goodnight Punk has said something that would just be like really funny to just have it fingertip and be like, "Oh really? Oh really? Oh really?"
I should start trying to remember more of these. Yeah, if you guys know of any, please hit me up, and I would love.
Sound quality is much better than usual. they can hear your stuff much better this time, probably because it's not having to go over the internet and into.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, that's good. Glad to hear. I assume the video quality is probably lower because my internet's sketchy, but all right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about this Q&A. Kind of pulled out some interesting points, just kind of things that were said that were kind of highlights. Feel free to go back and read the full Q&A. The link to it will be in the show notes if you guys want to go check that out. But one of the exciting things, I think it's exciting at least, that the Malik and the Gas events will be. They confirmed that they will be in the Journey Guide about a year after their initial release, which means Malik is coming up. We'll probably see Malik permanently in the Gear Guide, I would assume, next month.
I think that's great. There's no reason why anybody at this point should have to wait to get Malik. If they farmed all the requirements for Malik, yeah, why not? Everybody should be able to get it whenever it comes, whenever they meet the requirements. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that is a nice change that we'll be seeing. Mm-hmm. Do you think a year's too long?
Let's see. So I think it depends on how many times in a year they give you an opportunity to get it, right? So, if in a year's time they've given you 4 opportunities, let's say, to get it, one every 3 months, one every 90 days, I think that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I
agree.
If you weren't ready the first time, you got something to work for, and you can push for it a second time. So I'm fine with it as long as they. The biggest thing, I just don't like the surprises, right? Like it comes up when someone wasn't anticipating it to come up. It comes up a month early, or it doesn't come up, or it comes up a month late, right? So instead of being, 90 days between, it's 60 days between, and then the next time it's 120 days. I feel like that once they've said something comes, that it should be a little bit more predictable and a little bit more regular. I mean, what's the purpose? I understand the purpose of opening and closing it, but what's the purpose of, after you've already released it, not having it on something close to a predictable schedule? I don't see any reason for not doing that.
Yep.
So it's a good change.
Totally agree with you.
Putting them, both of those characters should be in the journey at some point. Totally agree.
Yep.
Is Padme already? I don't know if Padme already in the journey or no. I don't think she is.
No, I wouldn't think so because she came out after Malik, I believe. I think she came out in May. Joker said April 12th was the Malik release, so
then Padme
after that.
So then, in my mind, Padme should at some point between the two also come. Basically, I don't want them to accidentally, forget. You can go to the event right now for Padme. So Padme's already in there. I just did it on my phone.
Oh, so nice.
You can go to the event.
She went into the Journey Guide a little bit earlier than usual then. Interesting.
and then Matt Malik does say currently unavailable. And then I don't even know where this gas event is. And then is the gas event open right now? No, starts in 4 days. Right. So it's on the thing. So.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Cool. So the other thing, they actually officially acknowledged that the Radis and the Finalizer are meant to be kind of second-tier capital ships, not like an arena meta like Malevolence and Negotiator, but they're meant to be kind of that next GAC and TW fleet, which we desperately needed. So I am perfectly okay with that.
I don't. I kind of wonder about that, right? I mean, it always seems like. The thing is that if you have a team that can beat someone else's team, then they're really just used for cleanups at this point, right? I mean, that's really what they are. And so my question then is, if they're cleanups, then what does that do to Chimera and Tarkin and Mace Windu's, right? I mean, they're like third tier now. Is that what those are? So,
well, I mean, I think Tarkin and Mace are basically dead as far as I'm concerned. I still think Thrawn's great just because he can absolutely nuke someone if you just throw in an unbelievably tanky squad. He can still be useful, and obviously Admiral Akbar. I mean that's the Rebel fleet is still a really good fleet. I mean,
agreed.
Even using Negotiator, there is a chance that things go wrong. That fleet is like Night Sisters. There's always a chance of something going wrong just because of the damage output. So it'll be nice to have these various tiers of ships. And it gives a good place for these First Order and Resistance ships that really haven't fit into any meta whatsoever. It finally gives them a place. On
occasion, we were pulling off onesie twosies, right? On occasion, we were pulling off like a Kylo Ren's command shuttle to give someone 100% turn meter. And on occasion, we were pulling off Poe Dameron because he's got some pretty substantial DPS. And so there were some instances where we were pulling off onesie twosies. My thought on this deal is that I really don't. I just want to make sure that, and it doesn't look like they are, but I want to make sure that they continue with this kind of focus in the ships area of the game. I feel like that if they worked something in on ships, whether it's some new PvE content or some new PvP content or some new ships in the ships area. If they did a little something every month with ships, eventually ships would be awesome, right? And I got it. It might take 6 months or a year or whatever to finally get ships to where it is. But if you got to kind of do something about ships every month, and then in a year or a year and a half, you can look back and go, "Hey, ships is pretty awesome because we did something with it every month." That's really what I feel like they need to do.
Yeah. And it seems like they're starting to put more care into it, so
hopefully
we keep seeing improvements in this aspect.
Like the next thing the next thing you're going to talk about.
So this is what I read from this. We'll see if you agree with me or not. The question was, dear developers, there are 2 Empire capital ships in the game, but only 5 Empire starfighters, and none of them is a tank. Without a good tank, a fleet isn't really competitive. Are there any plans to make an Empire tank starfighter? Answer: TIE Bomber would be a perfect ship to make. It had many appearances in canon, and it would carry on the line of bombers like the Hyena and the Y-Wing. The Empire has a ton of cool TIEs that we've yet to put in the game as collectible units. The TIE Bomber is just one of them, and your instinct on carrying on the tradition in the bombers like the Hyena and Y-Wing is a smart one. Is this confirmation?
It's not, again, for some of us uber-involved players, right, people that read between the lines, I think that they understand that there's really only one Houndstooth. And
Yeah.
and while yes, it does go into every fleet, it can't go into every fleet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
That's true.
they do need to come up with 2 or 3 other tanks that if somebody really likes a faction, they like First Order, they like they like Resistance, they like Empire, that they can run an entire Empire fleet, right? We need a tank. In my mind, we need a tank for every group that's somewhere, maybe as good as Biggs, Darklighter, for about every faction.
Yeah, Biggs is a really good tank.
So maybe a little better than Biggs, maybe a little worse than Biggs, depending on which faction and how all the kits and synergies work together. But absolutely, if we look at the character section, almost every character faction has has some kind of a really good tank, or sometimes 2 really good tanks in those factions. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the ships should be the same way. I feel like too, there's got to there's a lot they can still do with ships. We haven't really seen a resurrection mechanic, or like I guess it would be like a repair mechanic, right? We haven't seen a capital ship that can repair yet. Imagine a capital ship, or a ship where a ship docks with the other ship and repairs it, and then it gets back out in the fleet, or it comes back as a reinforcement after it died. There's a lot of really cool.
It goes back into the bay whenever it gets down to 1 health or whatever. It goes, exactly. It gets repaired, and then comes back out or something. That would be really cool. Malevolence kind of has that with the way it sends out the vulture droids constantly.
Yeah,
it's obviously a little bit different,
right? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
To me, it's more like zombie, right? To me, that particular mechanic seems more like zombie, and and the other thing too is they die. Like if you kill all the ships, the vulture droids go away. And I kept feeling like, that why would the vulture droids just auto retreat? Like, shouldn't we? They came out. Why would? Shouldn't we have to kill them? So, I don't know.
I agree. It's kind of a weird mechanic, but it's cool, and it's a new change. So hopefully that will kind of tie into something kind of like what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
All right, so the next thing is regarding the Galactic Legend ticket system. There was a question asked about that, and here was the response. You will need to engage in the core game to earn the new tickets, and there is a cap on how many you can hold. Your tickets are consumed upon attempting the Galactic Legend event, and win or lose, you will need additional tickets to play the event again. The event itself is not intended to be a challenge level we have seen in the past with units like Malik and General Skywalker. So this I don't find terribly surprising. This
I don't either.
Absolutely sounds 100% like a single person raid.
It's a mini raid. Yeah, it's an individual raid. I agree. And to me, this seems like a reoccurring event, which means you're going to do this over and over and over again, and after you've collected and after you've gotten all the shards you need for Galactic Legend Kylo or Galactic Legend Rey, you're continuing to do the vent as a source of crystals or resources later. This is so. This is something you're going to do all the time, and to me, this sounds like what's core to the game. Core to the game is using energy, right? Using energy, doing your dailies, 100%. Interacting at the table. And to me, this sounds like when they talk about interacting with the core of the game, it means by you actually logging in and doing your activities that you normally do, you're just going to get these tickets. Everything about tickets in this game, you get tickets just by doing normal stuff, right? You get sim tickets by doing normal stuff. You get raid tickets by doing normal stuff. To me, this doesn't seem like it's going to be something super out of the ordinary from anything we've already seen.
Yeah, I agree.
This is meant to be a time gate. This is all this is meant to be. The tickets is meant to be where 100%. You cannot do 50 raids in a day. Why? Because you need tickets to do the raid. The whole reason for this is basically to say we don't want if someone spent all of the money to get all of the characters up, We don't want someone to come out day one with a Relic 7 Galactic Kylo Ren, Galactic Legend Kylo Ren.
Yep.
So you need to do your tickets, and I'm going to guess that you can probably do somewhere between like 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 4 of these things in a week. It's going to be somewhere in that range. So no one can do more than 4 in a week.
Yep, probably.
Just like the pit raid. So
yeah,
super easy.
I mean, the reward structure could be very much like the raid. Probably 10 shards, and they could also do something like if you get through so many waves, you get X number of shards. They could.
They could do it tiered, right?
It could not be a binary thing.
You could still be tiered 1 to 5, right? You could still have tiers 1 to 5 on the Kylo event, and just like how we do a Rancor, where it's so it takes less tickets when you start, and it takes more tickets when you get down to the other end, and you have to do the final version of the Kylo event, or the final version of the Galactic Ray event. And what will the rewards be? The rewards could be anything. I mean, it could be get 1. It could be get 2. It could be. Nice. I mean, to me, if I was a player, I'd want more get 1 and more get 2, and not more loot boxes, right? Because then it's just all RNG versus let me buy what I want to buy.
Yeah, I suspect there will be loot boxes because that does throw some randomness in it and prevents you from being perfectly efficient with everything.
I totally agree.
But I mean, I'm kind of expecting almost exactly like a raid. You get 10 shards, you get a little bit of currency, and there may even be a new currency. There might be some sort of single player event token.
Yeah, you could see a whole new. We could see now a like a journey shop, right? And you get a new journey shop currency. I mean,
yeah,
and there's different stuff in the journey shop.
Yep, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like more stores. That would be cool. All right, next thing was the new capital ship requirements for the Radis and the Finalizer. They are based on how well they synergize. And they did this due to the lack of First Order and Resistance ships in the game. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of an interesting approach that I found surprising. Like I said, I was super surprised that they didn't have some of these lesser owned ships and less required ships. They really did seem to take a new approach on this.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think they wanted anyone to miss the event, right? No. They're trying to be inclusive in the beginning of the capital ships, which, again, I'm totally fine with.
100%. The other thing, future Galactic Legends, they mentioned that they're expected to be the same way as far as knowing far out in advance, and that could change, though. We could predict all night long about the various characters that we're going to end up seeing. But
oh man,
we can predict, and
then we could also predict how many characters you need and which ones. I will tell you, this is a fair number of characters that we need for this thing. I mean, if you think about it, there's there's 190 something characters in the game, and we're taking 30 of them to make this event. That's a pretty huge chunk, right? Which means start looking at
it could be way more than that. I mean, it could end up being close to 40 if they don't have any other ships. Like, say, if just the Finalizer is required for crew and the other 3 Rex or characters. I mean, by proxy, you have all these ships that are required in there too. Which is
good point.
A lot.
I mean, you could, we could end up with 50. If we did some kind of new Vader and new Jedi loot, you could probably end up with 60 or something characters needed for something like that, right? I mean,
good Lord, yes.
Can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine? They're like all the Empire and all the Jawas and all the bounty hunters, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're like, oh man, okay, all the rebels. I mean, it could get pretty all inclusive.
It really could be a situation where you're almost forced every time that there's a Galactic Legend to where you pick dark side or light side, just because the requirements are so steep. There's no way in hell you're gonna be able to do both. Even if you're spending pretty heavy money, I mean, the requirements to get both these Galactic Legends is pretty crazy. I mean, it's not going to be cheap at all. Because,
I mean, you're going to see some people do it, but I think you're going to,
sure.
You know, when you kind of look at the cutoff, you're probably looking at the top 300 players in the game just by looking at GG on people that could get that even have a shot at getting this. You know, top maybe 250 players in the game. I mean, look, I'm a relatively big spender, and I'm telling you, I'm only doing one for sure right away, and another one is going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah. But I kind of like that they're doing that. It's kind of nice that the way they've been dropping stuff recently, you know, once you kind of get endgame, it's pretty easy, not easy, but you can stay up with things really without spending too much. This really creates, you know, kind of forces you into making a choice. And that choice is really going to change how you shape the rest of your roster. And I don't know, I kind of like that aspect of it.
Sure, without a doubt.
All right, so they're not getting rid of legendary events. Galactic, you know, we'll still have whatever the hell the like Malik style events are, legendary events. That's all basically going to be based on how good the character is. And I assume Galactic Legends will probably stay the top tier character. Given that we don't have like a badass Vader or Luke, I don't see them going another route or another tier up from Galactic Legends. I suspect we'll get both of them about the same time, maybe a year from now, and that'll kind of be kind of the top tier characters.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? You never know, though. You know, sometimes they bring out a character and we don't, you know, they've decided it's not top tier, and come to find out it really is top tier. And they just didn't understand how we were able to theory craft around it. I think Wat Tambor is a great example of this.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Where, you know, we've had, you know, well, or here's another one. I mean, we've had characters that are marquee before, right? And Nest is a great example of them. Just a regular marquee character, right? That ended up being, you know, super important.
Yeah. Ended up being way better than most marquee characters have been, for sure.
You know, there's some other, I don't know. I feel like that they've got some, we don't want to make it where the only thing we're looking forward to is like the Galactic Legend, and everything else is just a chase for this Galactic Legend, but that there's some good stuff along the way.
And, you know, we've seen other characters, like legendary characters, kind of come out after some of these other more top-tier characters. You know, like, we had Padme come out right after Malik last year, and Padme's an awfully damn good counter to Malik. So,
at the time,
I end up seeing some sort of legendary character.
And at the time, I didn't think Padme was going to be that good of a counter for Malik. I really didn't, you know? When I first saw it, I was like, it's going to be okay, but it's not going to quite cut the mustard. You know, maybe if somebody went all in on it, maybe they could figure it out. But it's actually a better counter than I thought it was going to be when it first came out.
Yeah, that team is insanely good. It's impressive how good that team still is. Honestly,
I agree.
Given everything else that we've gotten.
Well, again, it's survivability and damage, right? And it has survivability, and that puts out a good damage output.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And it's very difficult to debuff. I mean, it kind of has everything, but it's not like too OP either. Like,
Right.
you can still take it down. It might be the most well-balanced team in the game, just for what I feel like they were trying to do. I really think they did a great job with that team.
Yeah.
All right, so there's been lots of discussions about the new content. So these are just some points I pulled from various spots in the QA about new content stuff. They mentioned that there will be a new tool set for new content features, or specifically one feature. This feature is expected to yield multiple varied content experiences. The hell that means, I have no idea, but it might tie into one of these other points. They're currently in pre-production for the new feature. This is the thing that kind of tie in. New PvE game mode in addition to new PvE authoring systems, which will let us produce content more efficiently. I like the sound of that. I don't know exactly what the hell that means, but I like the sound of it. And then finally, there are aspects of an infinite journey mode, like thinking like horde mode in Call of Duty, or like the zombie mode, or like the Mortal Kombat tower. And there are aspects of that being put in the DNA of the new game mode, hoping for a rich PvE experience that strengthens the Star Wars and Holotable game feelings. I love the sound of all of that. You know, and like an infinite mode does kind of create a situation where it's more content in a way that, and you could probably scale it to some degree. I mean, just thinking back as Mortal Kombat, for an example, I used to love Mortal Kombat, and you would have like the various tiers of towers that you could do, you know? I feel like there's a lot of ways that they could kind of mix that into the game and kind of change things up, you know, like maybe a 3v3 thing, a Jedi thing, and create a lot of different ways to play the game.
You know, I mean, all this stuff sounds really good, and, you know, you and I can theorize till the cows come home on what would be great to add to this game and where they can add it that they don't have it right now, blah, blah, blah. My biggest concern is that a lot of this stuff, from the sounds of it, seem way in the future and don't seem like coming in this quarter or next quarter.
I agree. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's the next few months type thing.
You know, and, you know, if we're thinking, you know, this is 2 quarters out or 3 quarters out, I mean, that's a heck of a long time to be. I mean, it gets players excited, but at some point, you know, we gotta put some mustard on this thing and actually what is actually really coming to the game. Yeah. And so you know, to me, it's like, okay, well, we're doing Galactic Legends right now, and you're saying that stuff's coming out, and it's sounding like, you know, this is Q3 of 2020, maybe Q4 of 2020. You know, what's your plan for Q2 of 2020? After you've given, I think
that's the bigger question.
And I'm trying to break it down.
What Q1 is?
Yeah, well, Q1 is the legendaries. You know, are these 2 Galactic Legends
and new assault battle tiers,
and new assault battle,
pretty good.
Which, to be honest, right? I mean, we can't say, you know, you get people who all the time are like, "Oh, there's no new content. I can't believe it." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is content, right? I mean, assault battle tiers is content. Yeah. You know, and someone.
I love assault battles. They're awesome.
Look, we get it. Look, I mean, if we're doing 5 of them, that means we're getting 5 a month, right? Because we're going to get them at least once a month, so we're getting at least 5 a month. I'm okay with that. You know, everything. We're going to, you know, everything in this game we're going to play repeatedly. We've been playing it repeatedly the whole time, and it is partially a collection game, which means we are going to get new characters that we have to collect, or we're going to have to raise our characters' collection. When I mean, it's very easy to be a player. I mean, they gave us, last quarter, they gave us the journey guides and gave us repeatable abilities to play any of the journeys that you wanted to play, to remaster them. It would, it's playable content. You didn't get any rewards for it, but at least it's something that you're able to do. I like what they've done so far. I like how they fixed gear with relics. I feel like that we're, right path or wrong path. More times than not, I have to say it's right path. At least at the moment.
I agree. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with almost everything they've done over about the past 4 months, other than some PR stupidities. As far as the actual things that they're doing, I'm extremely excited. I think the journey guide was fantastic. Yeah. They needed to pull in new players, get fresh blood, and I think making it easier to get in and figure out what the hell to do is a great way to start.
I agree.
And now we're getting something for endgame players with these Galactic Legends.
Right.
Focused heavy on new players. Now they're focusing heavy on older players. And then, hopefully after that, we'll see something that is a little bit more for everybody as a whole. Whether that's...
Man, I got to tell you, the idea about new PvE table game mode almost is more impressive. I'm more favorable towards that than even a new raid, just because I like working through the PvE tables. I liked working through the ship's PvE tables. I liked working through light side, dark side. I like being able to, I like being able to, do an event, complete it, and then working through it to. I mean, maybe it's I like seeing all 3 stars done eventually on the thing, right? And what do I?
Man, yes.
I mean, what do I need to do to 3-star the event? Okay, cool. This is what we need to do to 3-star the event. Cool. So I definitely like it.
I agree.
And the value, I like how they did the value on the assault battles. I like that the majority of the must-have is in just the next tier up. And that everything that comes in the second hardcore tier of the assault battles is right there. The other thing I like about what they've done with the assault battles, and some people may or may not like this, but they also have a $9.99 pack in the store when the assault battle comes out, where if you weren't able to complete the assault battle, you could potentially just buy the pack that gave you almost everything that you got in the assault battle, so that somebody who needed a little extra push or wanted to work in another area has that ability for a little bit of cash.
Interesting.
Had you seen that? Yeah. I mean, you've seen them, right? The $9.99 packs. Basically,
I've seen them, but I really haven't paid any attention to what's actually in them. So
okay, I actually like.
Yeah. Very nice. Which kind of brings me to the next point. The new assault battle tiers, that is currently their solution for the gear economy. There won't be really any other changes. But the fact that they're making so many of these and doing them as regularly it seems that they will be, I am perfectly okay with that, because the gear from them is quite good. It can get you through a little while. I mean, a few Zetas and 10 of each, Cairo, that's pretty good. I mean, if you're getting one of those a week, I mean, you're getting over 30 Kairos a week from your dailies and assault battles. Mm-hmm. If you're doing beating tier 1. That makes a massive difference whenever you're talking about trying to get some of these characters up. So, I agree. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yes.
All right. I kind of already covered that. Let's see. So, I am going to assume that whoever asked this next question, I'm not going to read the question, I'm just going to kind of detail it, but I'm assuming that's somebody that listens to this podcast. So congratulations on getting your question answered. But a couple weeks ago, we were talking about something that started a discussion in our guild about assist order and mass attacks and, those sorts of interactions. We're talking about the way we specifically place our bugs in our lineup to get a certain effect. And they were asking if this was accurate, what determines attack order, and all that sort of stuff. The official response is, this is a tricky one. While squad order placement plays a large role in assist order, there are other factors that work here beyond that. If I were determined enough, I would experiment with squad order placement until you find a result you're satisfied with. And note that changes to the units from mods to bug fixes may impact the order. This kind of tells me that, yes, squad order is a huge aspect, but there's also a lot of other things. Animation time,
Yes.
you know, what the character actually does. I mean, characters that have super fast animations, like Han, for example.
Yeah.
He can do both of his attacks, I mean, just super fast. So there may be some advantage maybe to moving him into the last spot. That way, anytime there's a mass assist, the final thing that he can do
Are you
is,
talking about specifically
his
in a
ability.
raid?
If you
Or is that really where this question kind of came from? Within
so the discussion that actually started it here on this podcast was talking about using bugs in territory battle. That's
Gotcha.
what actually sparked the conversation that we had a couple weeks ago. And
right.
because a lot of people were having trouble, and I never really had much trouble, but I'd always had my lineup set where, Sun Fox up higher, so he can dispel, and then Geo Soldier, and then Poggle at the back. And so wherever there's a mass attack, theoretically the idea is that, and the other thing that helped start this whole conversation was the fives bug.
Yeah. Five's in the last spot.
Right.
Yeah.
So between all that, this was just basically a conversation that we'd had, and the bugs I think are a pretty good example. And I've done some experimenting, not a ton, as far as playing around with that. And my bugs seem to be very effective with the way I have them set up. But most of their animation times are pretty similar.
I will tell you. I think that
when they
placement
say
is huge. I mean, when he's saying this right now, is that when he's saying that it plays a large role in the assist order, I can tell you that when I fight an opponent, not only where they place 5, but where they place Rex matters. In gas v gas.
Okay.
And it has to do sometimes too with the heads up display on when you kill a character, where the counter attack or where the assist goes after a character has died. So if you attack someone and they die, but an assist comes, but the little green circle has now moved to a different character. You can set up the team where when you kill 5s, the next assist moves over, and you can't select it, but it moves over to Rex, and then you can put them in a certain order. When once 5s dies, it moves over to Arc Trooper, or it moves over to Echo instead. I mean, I know this is super nuancy, or at least it feels super nuancy. It feels super nuancy, but I think that whenever we're talking about the difference between winning something and losing something being really slim margins, sometimes this little nuancy stuff matters. I mean, obviously,
it absolutely does.
I mean, obviously, gas v gas is not that big of a deal, right? But TW and GAC,
correct.
Sometimes there are some slim margins between whether or not you win the battle or whether or not you win the battle and have the points that you want. In GAC, for example, because there's a big point. Everything is about points, right? And so that means GAC becomes really nuancy a little bit.
So here's kind of how I think about this. I think of it as a fuse that starts in the one slot and goes across. You light that fuse and it starts going across. So, your leader will be the first one and then finally your last one. And it happens quick. So characters with animations at the same time, it's not going to make much of a difference, right? So I don't know how mods would fit into that theory, because they said from mods to bug fixes. So I don't think that, I don't think like character speed would particularly matter, but I don't know if there's something else in there.
I feel like, I feel like we need to do I need to record it and then watch it back on super slow-mo and see if I can determine the order that it's happened in, right? And then you move a character to a different slot and play the battle again. And then see if in super slow-mo, if you changing the slots made a difference, right? I mean, we have the ability to record.
So Galactic War would be the perfect place to do this because, well, actually, no, it wouldn't be because I'm
gonna overpower.
Well, the path is like already laid out. If you change your lineup, it changes. I was gonna say you could get Galactic War is probably the best option though for getting pretty similar results battle to battle, but yeah, we may have to do.
Well, you've got multiple colonists. You've got multiple characters. You've got multiple characters that can do a call and assist, right? I mean, you've got a C3PO call and assist, and you've got Geos that do a call and assist.
Yes.
What other
General Kenobi and Jedi Knight Revan.
And Ewoks even, right? And one of those Ewoks dispels on basic,
another one,
right? So you've got some multiple teams that
Bosk is another.
You've got some teams that do these crazy ability that do these mass call and assists, and so it doesn't matter for every team, but it matters for certain teams. It also potentially matters on how you set them up for defense based on what the heads-up display is going to do for the other side.
Absolutely. And so one thing that I've seen a lot of people mention is that irritates people is the B1 and General Grievous interaction. That basically when Grievous uses a special ability, B1 gets called to assist before Grievous can attack. And I think that's basically due to the insanely slow animation that Grievous has. So he gets triggered, takes him a while to do his animation before he actually applies the damage. B1 gets to go, and then it gets back to Grievous eventually.
Again, is that anticipate? Is that in? That's off. That doesn't. That's not in. Yeah, that's where your animation point comes in, as far as a fast animation versus a slow animation. Because Grievous does something and then attacks, so it takes an extra quarter of a second or whatever to run through that.
And I'd like to know the difference of doing an ability with B1 in the second slot versus B1 in the fifth slot. Because that could be the difference that people are seeing if, the animation for B1's getting triggered, a tenth of a second later or whatever.
Interesting.
That could... I'm going to go back and try to... Where was this question at? It was rather lengthy. Because they specifically said about the B1, and I can't remember exactly what that mechanic is and how it works. It's always very exciting listening to somebody scroll through an internet page. What the hell is this question?
I mean, just kind of on an overall, I feel like that we had some pretty good takeaways from this Q&A. How do you feel overall on this Q&A and how they handled it versus previous Q&As?
I thought it was done pretty well. I mean, I think they answered some really good questions. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they just don't answer. They're going to give a blanket answer on. The fact that they answered a question about why they give blanket answers, I loved. That is one thing they always try to avoid. So the fact they actually kind of took it and explained why this is the way it usually is, I thought that was fantastic. All in all, we got some pretty good information. I wish they would have done a little bit more to make us feel, feel a little bit better about like the new content stuff. But they certainly gave us some information, regarding that. So I'm not going to complain too much. What'd you think?
On the overall, I felt like that they did better on this one than the previous ones. I feel like they're getting more of a hang of it, and they're not highlighting one area way more than like the other areas. Feels like they gave more substance in some areas than they have previously, which I'm all for. A more substantive. If you're gonna do a Q&A, let's at least give the people that take the time to ask the questions some substance.
Yeah.
There was one time when half of the text written responses were art related, and I felt like it was too much art and not enough economy, or not enough quality of life, or not enough general. And you're like, that's cool that the person who really likes the art is that into the art, but it was at the particular times that it's happened before, we needed a little bit more substance, I guess. And so I feel like that they're doing a better job of again, right, this is only like the 5th or 6th Q&A they've done total, I think, right? Since they've ever started them. So we would want them to get better and better as they keep going. I think it's interesting that they took a photo at the beginning of the random white dude, the guy with a t-shirt on that says random white dude. That's and they put that on. They put that on the.
I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. That was pretty funny. Okay, I found the question, and it did not mention the General Grievous thing that I was thinking of. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'll figure that out, and I'll make sure to talk about that next week, and try to get some sort of basic clarity on that, because I'm kind of curious. I just can't remember exactly which way that issue works.
Anyway, you got a couple more topics to talk about.
Yeah, 2 more points. One thing is there's no way to change the way you enter Grand Arena. So if you accidentally enter Grand Arena, tough luck. It's basically because it starts doing matchups then, and somebody backing out, getting back in, that sort of stuff screws that up. And so the change to the way you enter GA is not going to happen, unfortunately. And also regarding Territory War, no Territory War review period, because it's not directly possible, which I find interesting, but they say that there may be a Territory Battle history function sometimes in the future, and I would be okay with that. We need something.
You would like to be able to review a previous, we just fought this guild. What'd they put in the last time? That kind of a thing. Is that what you're looking for? I mean, you could do it with screenshots, right? And you can, you do have a review period on
War?
TW.
I meant Territory Battle.
A TB review period. Yes, I agree. I would love to have a TB review period, because right now it's instantaneously over, and you can't really review the final phase that you're in. Whatever your final phase is, you got to basically take screenshots like 15 minutes before it's over, so that way you're done with it. And so I would love to see it. I would love to see that. And then I'd love to see a TB history as well. See, hey, is the guild actually doing, are we progressing as well as we thought? Right? I mean, even if it was just numbers. Sure. But I can tell you that you can also write all that stuff, take screenshots and write all that stuff down on a spreadsheet if you wanted to.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to. I mean, typically...
We're fortunate we've got a guild member that does that. He tracks all the information, the past 3 Lightside Geo Territory battles. He's tracked information basically for everybody. Deploy numbers per phase, combat mission, points earned. And you can get some really, really cool information just by doing that. Getting to see, if people are deploying all of their roster, only part of their roster, not full deploying, whatever, and then the points that you're actually getting from combat missions. It's been a pretty neat little experiment.
Yeah. I think there's a lot that you can do to kind of try and understand a little bit better where guild members are at. But again, we're taking screenshots and then rewriting data down that we could have written down some other way. So again, more functionality. More. The other thing too is, we need. I feel like we need more than just rogue actions, right? And like focus and no-go signs. We need like an absolutely you cannot do this button.
Yep.
Right? I mean, there's.
Yep.
There.
100%.
Why
we don't have that? I don't. I think they did mention actually in a previous Q&A, because they still want there to be some sort of aspect of people need to listen to the orders, and officers just not making it to where you're kind of forced into a position that there's still some autonomy for each person to. You can go in and screw up if you want to. You may piss your officers off, but that was your call.
Good point.
Which I'm okay with, but I would like there to be ways to give better direction in game.
I agree. Okay. We ready to talk about something really fun now?
Yes, we are.
Hey boys, it's your favorite time of the day. The time where we all pop our tops off and relax.
We're going to pop the top off of this kit for the Finalizer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what else to use, so had to use that one. All right, so what do you like? Your overall thoughts before we actually dive into the kit? Pretty excited? Lukewarm? How you feeling?
I like this kit, man. I think this is going to be a great ship. I'm really digging it. How about you?
Yep, I am. Okay. I'm the exact same way. It's been a while since I felt this excited about a ship, but I am all aboard on this thing because it sounds awesome. Just gives me more reason to get Hux finished very soon.
I have G12. I have him G12.
Yeah, I do too. 4-star Gear 12.
I'm like, yeah, I think I got a 4-star Gear 12 or 5-star Gear 12, whatever it is, and I'm just like, okay, buddy.
That actually, the fact that they allowed a fleet captain to go to Gear 12 at lower stars is really interesting. If there's ever one character to do it on, this is the perfect choice.
I feel like that was a mistake on their part. I mean, did they ever actually admit that? I don't even know if they...
Yeah, they basically said it was a mistake on their part, but could have happened to a better character.
They're going to leave it, though. Yeah, because people had already applied everything.
Yep, fortunately. So, all right, let's jump into this. This is obviously a dark side ship. It's capital and, of course, First Order. The fleet commander is General Hux, and this ship is described as a First Order capital ship that enables the First Order fleet to have an early game advantage and relentlessly pursue enemies, which sounds fun as hell. The basic ability is called Lay Waste. Final text: deal physical damage to target enemy. If the target is hunted, deal damage a second time. Target ally gains critical damage up for 2 turns, and if they are First Order, they are also called to assist, dealing 30% less damage.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that basic?
I think we have to know more about what does hunted mean. That's probably my big takeaway from there.
I definitely agree.
Because hunted sounds pretty cool, and anytime you can do a target ally call and assist and crit damage up, those are all good things.
Absolutely. And like I said, the being able to pick a target is great, and also
Crit damage up for 2
anytime
turns
a
is
ship
nothing
brings
to, is
in
nothing
like
to sneeze at.
a new. Oh hell no! No, crit damage up makes a big difference, especially whenever you're talking about these first order ships that
They already hit hard.
Yeah, they hit really hard. Like, TIE fighter pilots been maybe not so much now, but has been one of the
Previously,
hardest
though.
hitting ships. Yeah, it's great, and so he might still be at at high relic levels. I'm not sure, but the hunted. I love it when they add unique abilities. Some of these capital ships, just fun little new mechanics. The first special is called Quell. It is a cooldown of 2. Final text: deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict offense, down, and target lock for 3 turns. If the target is resistance or hunted, these effects can't be resisted.
So, again, inflicting target lock typically does something else, right? And so we have to, there's like, it on its own, target lock is not super awesome. But it's the abilities that come afterwards when a character is target locked that is super cool. And offense down on your enemy is always a good thing. So,
100%.
and now we've got cannot be resisted, which means which is pretty cool. Anytime you have an ability which can't be resisted, that's always a good thing. And now we have 2 ways for it to be where it can't be resisted. But I will tell you, most people are not running resistance characters in Arena, so I'm not really seeing this really working for the resistance. But if we can get to hunted, I think that could be pretty cool.
Agreed. Alright, second special is Ravage with a 4-turn cooldown. Final text: deal physical damage to all enemies. This attack deals 100% more damage for each hunted enemy.
We really need to figure out what hunted is.
Things doing more damage.
Yeah, more damage, big AoE hit, which means now we can get around the taunts, which we love whenever we can get around the taunts. Dealing 100% more damage after you've got crit damage up, I think is super awesome. But we need to, dealing 100% more damage for each hunted enemy means we really need to know what hunted is, because we could potentially be doing 200, 300, 400, or 500% more damage. So, yes, super important. We now have a AoE ability that could do 500% more damage. I would love to figure out how we can do that. Yes. Now.
So, let's talk about that with the third special, and this is the ultimate ability. Extinguish Hope. 3-turn cooldown. 3 turn. That is the lowest cooldown of any ultimate. Not only that, but this is the only ultimate that is available for use at the start of battle. Final text: all hunted enemies lose 35% turn meter, and the target enemy becomes hunted until they are defeated, which cannot be copied, dispelled, prevented, or resisted. Then, deal physical damage to target enemy. First order allies gain defense, penetration, offense up for 2 turns. This ability can be evaded and is available for use at the start of battle. Hunted. Deal 75% less damage with out-of-turn attacks and can't gain bonus turn meter.
Right.
This is just flat out badass.
I'm going to tell you right now, first of all, the animation is awesome.
I totally agree. The animation is fantastic.
If they just wanted to rework, I just sat there and complained about the art, and here is art being awesome in this game, right? This is epic. every capital ship's ultimate should look this good, right? Secondly, man, does Hunted sound like that is anti-Millennium Falcon and anti-Houndstooth, right? Not gaining bonus turn meter, half the reason why.
And anti-Anakin also.
Anti-Anakin as well. There is a lot of anti-stuff going on here.
Yeah.
To me, can't gain bonus turn meter means we want Anakin hunted from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And can't gain those bonus turns.
Exactly, which means if we kill someone else, he can't gain the bonus turn meter.
I mean, it completely nerfs his unique ability.
And if you can't and can be dispelled, means that if you were able to get hunted off on MILF before MILF did the wiggle, again, we got to check the speeds, but if that was possible...
I think it would be, actually.
Now, I mean, if it's possible, we got to check the speeds, but if it's possible, now you have a hunted MILF, which means you're doing more damage all the time. The other thing, too, is when Houndstooth is not taunting and doesn't have a daze, every time you hit another enemy, one of its allies, it gains 25% turn meter, which means on an AoE sometimes it can get 100% turn meter, which is crazy. Yeah. So for me, this hunted is also anti-Houndstooth. We need more anti-Houndstooth in the game. So I 100%. Am totally stoked about this.
And the other thing that makes this... I mean, it's not just hunted that makes this anti-Houndstooth. It's First Order allies gaining defense, penetration, and offense up. These ships that already hit hard are going to be hitting even harder because of that. I absolutely love it. This is super awesome. Now, the question is, how fast can you get this ability off? And that takes us to the unique ability, 2 steps ahead.
Yes.
Final text. Right. At the start of battle, the Finalizer gains 15 speed for each other active First Order ally until the end of its turn. Or the end of its first turn. All First Order allies active at the start of battle have plus 50% max health and have their reinforcement abilities activated. Debuffs from these abilities will not be inflicted. First Order allies recover 25% health whenever they are when they critically hit an enemy. And if a First Order ally defeats a hunted enemy, that ally gains 25% critical damage, stacking for 5 stacks until the end of battle. Man, that is awesome. So the 15 speed, you're gonna have 3 starting ships, so that is 45 additional speed that this ship can get.
We also need to look at the view mechanics on GG. I know it says each other, but if you actually go into the view mechanics, the Finalizer might be counting itself. In view mechanics on GG, I've seen this in the past where the text and the other thing, so it's possible.
Yeah, that is definitely something to check. By wording, it should include itself, but very, very well could. Yes. And the other thing, like what you're talking about with Millennium Falcon, is the fact that the TIE Silencer is a super fast ship. Inflict stun, so you can stun the Falcon right out of the gate. Then that would open the door to use this, target the Falcon, and just get the hell out of the way. It's pretty awesome. I absolutely love this ability. And then the stacking crit damage, the health recoveries, the big thing I think here is the plus 50% max health, especially on a ship that, like Kylo's shuttle that has like 100k health. Like, this thing has a lot of health, but adding another 50% health. Yes.
Yeah, and they recover health on a critical hit. And they've already got a bunch of critical hits coming up, right? I mean, I feel like this is, and they have stacking crit damage. I mean, it's like insane. It's insane.
And then a lot of these ships also have advantage. You know, Kylo's shuttle
which is a guaranteed crit, basically, right? I mean, advantage is effectively a guaranteed crit.
And so the reinforcement bonus is reinforcements gain advantage for 2 turns. If the reinforcement is First Order, they also gain 25% critical damage until the end of the battle, and the Finalizer gains 30% turn meter.
And
That's a
and
pretty
here's
cool
the other thing
effect.
too is if you go back and look, they have their reinforcement abilities activated. I don't think we've kind of touched on this enough, but just first order characters and what some of their reinforcement abilities are. Right?
Yes, this is very important.
I mean, effectively, that means silencers. The TIE silencer already has afterburn, right?
Yes, it starts out with Afterburn, and let's see. Okay, so the TIE Silencer gains plus 25% offense and the Afterburner buff, which can't be prevented or dispelled. Afterburner is when the TIE Silencer attacks with advantage, reduce its cooldowns by 1. When a First Order ally takes damage, the TIE Silencer has a 50% chance to gain advantage for 2 turns. When you have 3 First Order ships out there, going to be a lot of advantage gaining there.
And if you did Kylo's shuttle, you gain in 20% turn meter on the shuttle, and every other First Order is gaining 10%. Right?
And then the First Order TIE Fighter also has some turn meter gain. All allies gain 15% turn meter. So
the First Order TIE Fighter pilot means everybody would get 40% potency, and all active allies would have negative 20% tenacity, doubled against resistance.
ooh,
I mean,
that's pretty good too.
I mean, there are some pretty. Or here, inflict target lock on the. And here's one. If you did the First Order, you could inflict target lock already. Oh no, no debuffs. No debuffs.
It won't inflict target lock.
It won't do the debuffs.
Right.
It won't do the debuffs. But everything else would be good.
But
so
I mean, you have a lot of options here.
you have an incredibly lot of options.
This is awesome.
Again, First Order. I've always thought First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter pilot. I mean, look, once you've already gone all in on the First Order, going all in on this First Order TIE Fighter pilot is not the end of the world. It really isn't, right?
Agreed.
And in some fleets, in some of the previously, he actually took the place for a lot of people on First Order Officer. Most people didn't have him and didn't have him up to G12. I happen to already have him up to G12. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, he was better than First Order Officer in that 5th slot on the original team, right, with crew lead.
Yeah.
And he already had a ship that was really good. Now what we're saying is it's even better to have him, and you're going to have him at, what is it, Relic 3, Relic 5? What do we need him for in this thing? The thing that just, the quest,
Relic
just...
5,
we need him at Relic,
I believe.
we need him at Relic 5. That dude's going to hit hard, and he's got some kind of some of his abilities are pretty darn good. So, I'm just going to tell you, I feel like that First Order, I mean, effectively, you shouldn't have a problem climbing at this point with this fleet. Like we're effectively saying we're effectively with this fleet saying we should not see a timeout meta in ships ever again. I feel like that's what we're saying with this fleet. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's kind of an interesting point. Because, I mean, that is a lot of damage right out of the gate. I mean, with all the turn meter gain, and you're already talking about these fast ships, so they could be getting a second turn before the other capital ship even gets its first turn.
It isn't entirely possible. But, I mean, in my mind, that's what I'm seeing is... And under user control, where you get to put hunted where you want it, when you want it...
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I feel like I bet you that
this doesn't seem like a defensive AI squad.
No, this to me seems like I'm going to come in, and if I'm if I'm a human playing, then I put hunted where it needs to go, and you're gone. Exactly. I feel like this is going to be really good, but I do not feel that we're going to see. I feel like this is an end to timeouts, at least as far as what we have in the game so far. And it's a way to get around the tanks.
Yep, 100%. I am pretty excited about it. Well, that pretty much covers everything for this episode, Grande. You have anything else you'd like to...
there are some things that could, we've talked about this before. There are some things that could, I know they said they didn't, Radis to be the opposite of each other. So you would assume they're balanced. On paper, this looks really cool, right? You know, in a day or two, we'll see, right? I mean, you want to kind of leave it a little bit measured, but I'm excited for what we see. I'm excited for reading the kits. Is it going to work exactly like how we're theory crafting? Who knows, right? But you know, it should be pretty cool.
I haven't been this excited about a ship since
Houndstooth, maybe?
Jedi Knight Anakin Starfighter.
Oh, the rework?
Maybe Houndstooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Houndstooth or maybe the Anakin rework?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
That.
It's been a long time. I mean, so yeah, this is.
I mean,
fantastic. It's going to put.
I wasn't excited about Vulture Droid or the BTL. So this is definitely more exciting than either one of those. Yeah. I was pretty excited about the Holdo 100%. Maneuver. The biggest challenge with Holdo and the Holdo maneuver is we don't have the ships to make the foresight work, right? Now, I will tell you that, you know, some people in chat are Joker's making a good point in chat. If they released some resistance ships that, you know, gave us foresight and then basically made it where from reinforcements and then made it to where, you know, Holdo was able to get to her Holdo maneuver in half the time and knock this and do like the movie and knock this guy out, right? Do the Holdo maneuver on this guy right away, then yeah, obviously that would make sense, right? And it's very possible that this ship is works super great against everybody, but maybe Holdo with the ship that I think is coming eventually and might be Q2 of 2020, which is a Galactic Legends Ray sitting in a Galactic Legends Ray Red 5.
That'd be cool. Hell yeah.
If we had a Galactic Legends Ray in her own Galactic Legends Ray ship, it might wipe the map with this particular team that we're talking about.
I like it.
But I don't think that we're going to get that, you know, at least until April.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're lucky. We'll get it by April.
I'm saying the most pushed, right? If we're saying that's Q2, right? So Q2 would be, you know, April, May, or June. Maybe we might end up with some good. So with as much as they're putting in ships content, right, and as much as we're putting into as much as they're putting into these two, and the fact that both the Resistance faction and the First Order faction are heavily involved in ships, I would like to see the two new Galactic Legends characters, if they were to continue this for another quarter, have both of them get their own ship. That's just me.
Yes, I totally agree. And that could be part of the reason why they're doing this, because both of these factions are kind of short on ships, whereas, you know, most of these other factions, you can build out a full squad and have a couple reinforcements of that faction. Resistance, you have 0 reinforcements and you only have 1 with First Order, so that is certainly a possibility.
And Joker again is mentioning that we did get a new calendar, right? I don't know if you didn't really talk about the calendar too much, but we did get a calendar, and the calendar character login character is like Luminara or something for next month.
It's super interesting.
And I think, you know, that potentially could lead to, and we do have a new season 7 of the Clone Wars cartoon on Disney Plus, and so potentially we could kind of 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. We could take 2 steps back and go back to Clone Wars a little bit, and potentially end up with some Galactic Republic and some separatist Galactic Republic kind of work, which might give us some more relief on light side TV and dark side TV.
Yes, that would be the big thing if we got a little bit of help for the light side territory battle.
There are some guilds that are still having serious. There are some guilds that are still having some pretty serious trouble with dark side TV. I mean, I know there's a lot of guilds out there getting 28, 29, 30, 31 stars, right? In Darkside GOTB. I think there's even a guild that got 32 stars. But we don't have a lot of guilds up there in that area. And so I know we tend to talk about Lightside GOTB as being where people need help, but I still feel like that there are some some groups out there that could maybe use with a few more separatists, or use with a few more, or some reworks on Galactic Jedi. I mean, we've talked about how bad Mace is, right? You basically said he was a dead capital ship. I'd love it if we were able to maybe kind of end up with a. And from we got a couple people in. I don't know if you saw this or not, but we have a couple people shout out because of double cam shards. We have a couple people that have unlocked Kiamundi.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
And they basically say he doesn't work real well, right? Well, he'd work a lot better if we had a couple Galactic Jedi that were reworked.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about.
Yep, that could certainly be playing a factor. Either way, I've got a relic for Ayla Secura, so please rework her. I would be very happy.
I think Ayla should get a rework. Eth Koth should get a rework. Mace Windu should get a rework. Lumi should get a rework. They could touch on Barriss again, even though Barriss is really good in some certain instances. For sure. I think Barriss could rework, but yeah, Kiamundi or Cam really needs some love or he needs some other people. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah. And they wanted to do that rework. They just ran out of time, as they mentioned before. So,
now with the Clone Wars series coming back,
a little bit more incentive to maybe move that up the priority list.
Not a spoiler alert, but I mean it is on the. It's on the. You can watch the YouTube shows it. The first episode has more clones in it, and has clones that are. You would not mistake for any other clones. Chicken Bottom said it in the chat there. Bad Batch, which had been alluded to before, and would be. And I'd love to see a secondary clone squad that would work for Lightside GOTB.
They could use a couple more for sure. That would be great to have more options there.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 4 with gas, and then you could put 4 with Shock T, that'd be really great. Which means we need at least 2 more, right?
Yep.
Really and truly, I mean, at a bare minimum, we need 2 more. So. To see how it goes.
But I totally agree.
It's all good, interesting stuff.
I agree. Well, I guess we will leave it there. And Grande, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
We'll have to get you on again sometime, and we like to get you on every now and then. There was... actually, you know what? While you're here, I want to ask you a question real quick.
Okay, sure.
So, Ringer posted this in our Discord, and this was actually something that we had talked about last time you were on the show, because relics were still a little bit newer. Mm-hmm. So, I predicted that relics would decrease the need for speed secondaries on mods and characters over time. Ringer asks, do I still feel this way overall? Or do I think that speed has become a factor again with all these characters kind of getting to Relic 7? What do you think about that?
It's team specific. It's very, speed is team specific. They have produced, it's almost like relics didn't even really count as much as kit descriptions, right? And we already knew this. We knew that kit descriptions trumped mods. And how we know this is because we have meta teams.
For sure.
Right? We knew this because we have meta teams. Which, a guy with gas clones beats a guy without gas clones. If it's 5v5, almost every time, right? the thing is that the gas team, the gas team, and the way Five's Zeta works means you don't need speed, right? But they had to almost double the amount of health and protection gained by that, and have a really dumb AI that, on purpose, the AI does not target fives, right? If the AI,
Yes,
if the AI targeted fives, if the AI said whenever possible target
it would be
fives,
very difficult.
we would need speed, but they intentionally didn't do that.
Yeah.
And the reason why they didn't do that is because they're trying to decrease the necessity for people to have speed mods. I mean, right now, gas beats gas, and whoever's on offense wins every time.
Yep.
Pretty much. I mean,
but there are some other aspects.
I mean, but
So, like,
if you're as long as you're relic, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've never seen a person who's running gas beat gas
Yes,
with a guy on offense
that's
lost.
definitely true.
Right? And it doesn't matter whether everybody on the team is relic 2 or everybody on the team is relic 7. I mean, I'm guessing it's possible, but it's not there. I feel like certain teams are definitely
pretty safe mirrors.
Yes, it's a pretty safe mirror that on offense you're going to win. I will say this, though. I will say that teams that speed matters, you still have you still need speed on your Darth Revan Malik team, whether it's on offense or defense, and you have to have it. You need to have it in a large amount of it to make it work right.
For sure. And there will always be teams and characters that are that way.
And I still feel like that there, for White Revan, you still need a lot of speed, even without it.
Yes.
And I don't, and again, I don't feel like that it's. I feel like speed has maybe diminished a little bit, but I feel like it's still king, even in the new era. And the depth and plethora and quality of mods is probably more evident now than ever before, as far as if we're looking player to player.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I'll answer this in a little bit more detail next week, because I'd like to talk about it longer. But in general, I think my original prediction, I feel like it was pretty spot on. Like, most of my teams, I have gone pretty far away from using as much speed as possible and moved a lot more towards other stats. I'll give some examples next week, because I think that would be a fun discussion.
What's interesting, though, we have two teams, Padme and Gas, that don't really need speed, right? And
yeah,
and then really and truly, except for one or two characters on like a Grievous squad that don't need speed. But I feel like that they made kits. They worked really hard on kits where you have characters that gain 100% turn meter and stuff like that, where to mitigate speed, right? I mean, 100%
for sure.
I mean, if somebody's gaining 100% turn meter when you do something, right? You have eliminated the need for speed on that character.
Yep.
Or if they gain a bunch of TM. Wink thinks he's right. I still think speed matters, right? I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, our guild, I mean, I'm in Maw. For most people who don't know, I'm in Maw. We still have speed requirements that you're supposed to put on the characters. And I will tell you that even with my depth of mods, and I don't have a lot of like plus 25s, but what I do have is a lot of plus 20s and a lot of plus 15s. I still cannot meet our requirements. Because most of the counters, I mean, if you were going to use a CLS counter against Gas, you better bring some freaking speed to that match. Or it's not,
yes. Yep. And there are some teams you just do flat out need a character to go first. But it's usually one character or two characters. It's not your whole team.
No, it's not. No, but it's never your whole team. It's never been your whole team, right?
There have been times where for example, Darth Revan, Malik, Bastila Fallen. Those three, I mean, you absolutely need them going as often as possible.
So I'm going to tell you right now, because Malik gains 100% turn meter, right? You didn't really need speed on him. He gains 100%
I don't
turn
disagree
meter.
with you, but everybody mods him for speed. All of them, it seems...
No, I modded him for offense.
I don't either, but I'll be honest, mine's gear 11, so I hardly use them at all.
Mine's Relic 7, so I mean, and I'm going to tell you right now.
I figured.
I'm going to tell you right now, you could get away with a lot. You can get, when a character goes to 100% turn meter, you can get away with a lot, right? You can get away with a whole lot.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, Malik is one of those characters that didn't really need the speed. Now, Darth Revan and Bastila Fallen, totally agree with, right? But not on Malik. And I think that HK could actually have been slow, in my opinion. HK can be slow. And the reason why is, again, because he hits hard.
I've always ran him slow.
And because potentially, but again, I'm just going to tell you, and it all depends on where you are. Everybody's playing this game differently, right? I'm in a top 5 guild that's playing against other top 5 guilds in TW and GAC, and everyone's GAC, and what I've found is one guild's TW experience to another guild's TW experience is different, and one person's GAC experience to another person's GAC experience is very different. And so even if everybody is sitting in, the final division, I'm going to tell you, if you have somebody who has 6.5 million GP, and you went in and you saw what the teams that they're fighting against that are around their same GP, their same GP in their top 80, you would realize, oh crap, I have to have much better mods and much better speeds, or I just don't ever get a turn. And so again, I don't feel like we can ever take one person's perspective, if that makes sense, on one of these things. You have to take a lot of people's perspective in order to come up with a better idea. And I still feel like that if you were going to choose a mod with no speed or a mod with speed, I'd probably take a slight decrease in speed, but speed would still be on the character. It's just instead of plus 25s or plus 27s, I'd be like, I can live with a plus 16, or I can live with a plus 11, because it also has this much offense, or it also has this much...
Yes.
Or it also has this
100%.
Much defense. Or it also has the right primary and secondary. But I can't say that I'm going to totally sacrifice 100% of the speed that I could have gotten from this mod. So in other words, I'm going to take a mod with no speed on it, because it would be rare. There's a rare character where I would say that that's okay to have no speed on them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What you just said is, I think, very spot on. You will never be worse by going faster, but the importance of it's just not what it used to be. Just because you can get, a 16% health primary with a bunch of extra defense on the secondaries, like that extra defense or the extra health or protection percentage or whatever, will get you a lot further than the 10 extra speed or whatever. It's amazing the number of characters now that I mod, and I don't really care about speed on them at all. Like, I'm modding them to do what they do really well, and they do that without me having to sacrifice a bunch of speed on them. But then again, there are still characters that I want to go like my bounty hunters, Bosk, Django, and Boba. They are pretty damn fast. And they're really good. That is one of my best modded teams. If you looked at the mods on them, you would be like, why the hell are those mods not on your arena team? I'm like, well, because they don't need it. If you're running Gash, you don't need to be super fast. I agree. But if you're
And a team like Bosk, right? I mean, if you're trying to get out there, you're trying to beat this. To me, the most powerful counter for a bounty hunter team, if you were going to put it on defense, would be when somebody went in there with JTR currently, right? Which means that you're trying to get your bounty hunter team to go faster than the plus TM gain that BB-8 and is giving to the team, and that JTR is getting just
which
because
at some point gets impossible.
It does get impossible, but effectively, what you're trying to say is that if they had 2 or 3, G11s on the team, or they had 2 or 3 low G12s on the team, you might be able to take out 2 or 3, and then by that time you got to your payout. And if you get to your payout before they get to Illuminated Destiny, your team might be able to win on defense, right? You might be able to get one win, or you're at least telling them there ain't no, or you're at least telling them there's a 100% zero probability of you winning with troopers against this.
Yes.
Like you're basically trying to force them with your modding to say you have to try, you have to do this another way, right? It's the one. I'm going to tell you right now. It's the one reason why a lot of people still put a lot of speed on Rex is because if you have enough speed on Rex, then you can potentially tell that guy, there's no way your CLS counter is going to work. I put this much speed on Rex, which means even if you stun him and he gets a chance to come around to his second turn, he's coming around so fast to his second turn that it doesn't matter that you stunned him the first time. And that would be the only reason why you would say, okay, I'm still going to mod Rex for massive speed. And it's because you've got a character on the other team that did something like this, like Han shoots first, right? I mean, there's it's specific. It's not every character, but I'm going to tell you, whenever you look at these stuff, I mean, most people don't just to fill out their arena team, most people don't have, let's say, there's 5 mods excluding the speed arrow. So there's 5 mods, and besides those 5 mods, so there's 5 times 5. So most people don't have 25, plus 25 speed mods that all fit in the right primaries and secondaries to all work together. So no one could go for all speed. They got it randomized, which means they're trying to maximize that particular mod with another group of mods that kind of sort of works. I mean, it's pretty rare I've seen someone that, let's say, has more than 20 characters that they could get over 160 speed, plus 160 total, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, on my team, for example, there's a lot of characters that I have moved, and not a lot, but there's a lot of characters that I've moved away from a speed arrow and gone to a crit avoidance arrow, for example, right? Or I've moved away from a speed, I've moved away from a speed arrow and moved over to an offense arrow, even on my arena team. Now, I will tell you, it's a crit avoidance with plus 20 speed, or it's an offense arrow with plus 18. You know what I'm saying? So I'm only giving up 12 points of speed to gain the extra offense. Or it's on that CLS team because you're trying to get guard on a specific character, and so you have to manipulate the mods so that they don't have the lowest health pool, and guard gets put on a certain character instead of another character, right? So you're manipulating it for some other kit ability.
Yep, there are a lot of reasons to do stuff like that, but I'm pretty surprised at the number of non plus 20, say, arrows that I use. I use quite a few arrows that don't have, a ton of speed. I've got a lot in kind of that 10 range that I use on a lot of characters that I use constantly. I just love those mods. I think they're fantastic. But yeah, so
we'll see. But I agree. I want speed to be less valuable. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will definitely touch on this again next week, get GMP's opinion, dig into it a little bit more, because I think that's kind of a fun question. But, Grande, thank you again, sir. Make sure everybody go out there, check out Reality Skewed Gamers. Lots of good stuff over there. They do a great charity deal every year.
We do.
So definitely
really
make sure
one.
you guys
American
go
Cancer
check that
Society.
out.
We love it.
Yep, good, really good stuff. So yeah, thanks, sir, and we will catch you guys next time.